Welcome to Ross Perspective. In this video, I speak with the extraordinary musical star, singer, and actor GIZEL Jimenez, known from her roles in Critics' Choice and Golden Globe-nominated movie Tick, Tick, Boom, Dexter: New Blood, and Apple TV's Bad Monkey. How did you get into acting?
I actually got into acting a little later than most people, I suppose. I first studied voice for a while, and when I was in high school, my choir teacher, he was just like, "You're very expressive. I think you need to join theater." And the way he said it, I thought it was like the worst thing ever. I was like, "Oh my God, I'm too expressive. This sucks." And so I found this community theater called Miami Children's Theater in Miami. And it was at the Jewish Community Center, and you had to pay to be a part of it. So I did like a work exchange where I could, clean the wardrobe room or whatever they needed in order to like do shows there. And I fell in love with performing. I was like, oh, this is so much better than classical like singing, classical performance. It's even though I love the technique of vocally, it's such a stiff performance for me. I just need a little bit more. I need some freedom. I think that's what I found in acting. So then I joined a thespians group in high school. Did a few competitions, and then the drama teacher suggested for me to audition for New World School of the Arts. It's a private conservatory. It's like a high school and a college. And Alice Luckemore went there, and Audrey Burns. They're both Broadway people, and a few other people that are around my age actually that went there. And the training is amazing and it's super affordable, which is why I did it.
That's good.
Yeah. So I basically, I got scholarships. I wrote like a lot of essays and ended up getting paid to go to school. Like that's how much money I was able to get. I worked really hard on it. So I used my extra money for books, dance clothes, and housing. And yeah, I got my BFA in 2011. And then I moved to New York and I booked the first national Broadway tour of West Side Story in 2011, going into 2012. And I toured for a year, and then I've been working professionally ever since.
So I know you just mentioned like the kind of theatre side of it. And so I was wondering like, how did you kind of first get into singing?
I was like crippling shy, like super shy as a kid. And they were having like this, how in elementary they do these like shows where they invite the parents, and what we did was like this musical medley of numbers, and the teacher told us that we had to audition, and I was terrified. I was like, I'm not doing that sounds so scary. So but I was really good at school and studying, so I offered the teacher to allow me to be her assistant instead. I was like, I could assist you in this. Like, I'll write down all the notes, I'll write down all the blocking. And so I did, and I was really good at it. I memorized everybody's part and learned everything. And then we were in tech. Tech in theater is basically setting up a call board to call light cues, sound cues, and stuff like that. So we were running all of that, and one of the girls that was performing the opening number of Beauty and the Beast, she got really sick and she couldn't be there for tech. So my teacher, not even thinking about it, was like, can you just stand where she goes and go through all the points and like, perform it, and like, no worries, nobody's watching. And for some reason, the audience was empty and I knew everybody there. I felt comfortable. So I did it. And honestly, I swear to you, I didn't even know that I could sing. Like, I never even like tried to sing. Like, I never put the two and two together. My dad said that I hummed a lot when I was a kid, but like, I don't remember any of that. So I performed the song, and when I'm done, everyone's like jaws dropped, staring at me. And I'm like, what is going on? And they're like, Giselle, how come you didn't tell us you could sing? And I was like, I didn't know. And then she's like, okay, well, you're going to be her understudy just in case she doesn't come for the show. And we have to give you a song for the show, please. And I was like, okay, I'll do one song. And I performed it, and it wasn't so bad. It wasn't so scary. But that's how I learned that I could sing. And then after elementary school, my mother had passed when I was 13. So I moved to Florida to live with my dad. And that's where I joined choir. And then from there, I just started working on my voice and studying music.
Do you think that kind of realization that you could sing and you were good at it, do you think that kind of helped boost your confidence and going out your comfort zone a bit?
It did help me get out of my comfort zone. Although I remember this one time in high school, there was like a talent show, and I prepared a duet with my friend, and I don't know what happened, but like I just started getting really in my head, and I ended up like running off the stage and like left my friend there. So like that was an experience where I was like, oh man, this anxiety thing, I kind of forgot about it, and it came back. Because like in choir, you're singing with a bunch of people. So it's not scary because like you have a team, like yeah. If you were in a sport. But like the talent show was just me and someone else, and everyone's staring at us. I was just like, stop looking. I don't know. It was so weird. But yeah, it was not cute. It was embarrassing. I was a nerd anyway, so it's not like I ruined my reputation or anything, because I didn't really have one. So,
well, I mean, it's worked out in the end, I guess.
I guess, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to talk about Tick Tick Boom, which obviously did really well.
Yeah.
I saw an interview with Andrew Garfield that I found quite interesting, where he basically says that he got cast before they knew he could sing. So I was wondering, like, what was that kind of audition process like for you, like getting the part originally?
Well, to be honest, I was there was a workshop, and basically a workshop is what is used to develop a new work.
Today is to say the adjective fun a lot.
It's perfect. Keep going.
Star, you have received 2 nominations, Face of the Year and Best Hair. Prepare a speech for your photo opportunity, your agent in pursuit.
And this is theater related again. So basically you sit down at a table and you read through the script, and then you discuss it. And depending on the workshop, or depending on how developed the piece is, you can either analyze the script and help the writer to like adjust things with the character or not, or you start learning music and you get ready to present for investors. Now, Lin-Manuel Miranda was the director, and I had been a part of this workshop for about 5 years before it, went to Netflix and was a movie. And we did not have the luxury of Andrew Garfield in the beginning, I'm sure because he was busy and, he has other things he was doing. But I did work with him on the last 2. And then the very last one was the presentation in front of Netflix and all the producers and the whole team, basically. I think Andrew Garfield was being modest, because I know that during rehearsal he had mentioned, oh my God, I'm in the room with Broadway people, like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to hold my own. And I know he had his own doubts, and we all do. He was just cool enough to share them with us. He didn't have to. He could have just pretended like he's Andrew Garfield, like, you know what I mean? But he was so humble and sweet and patient and willing to learn as much as he could, and that was really inspiring to watch. But I thought from the moment he sang, I thought he had a lovely voice, and although I know that he has his own opinions, I enjoyed listening to him singing. And his character is based on Jonathan Larson. And Jonathan Larson, he was more of a writer than he was a performer himself. He wasn't known as like a singer, So I feel like in that respect, Andrew Garfield had a pretty great shot at developing this character. It's not like he was doing Audrey McDonald, or I don't know, like some big singer, big voice. So I think it was appropriate, and it totally worked out. And he was being very humble about his talents.
You mentioned the kind of like the build up with the workshops.
Yeah.
And obviously a few of your scenes are like performing in a workshop. What was that like? Because I guess it maybe doesn't even feel like acting at that point.
Not really. I mean, I didn't feel like I was acting. Like all the scenes that you see me beaming, it was like I was beaming. I was so happy to be there and to be around such talented people. But aside from the talent, everyone was just so kind to one another, and the environment was so healthy. And I say that because that's not always the case. There's sometimes you're going to feel like weird energy at a workplace, or like maybe someone's having a bad day and they release that bad day on everyone. That happens. And we didn't have that issue. It felt like a bunch of friends playing pretend, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, it was like so chill. And I just felt like it was such a natural experience for me, which actually was the gig that really got me to wanting to focus on TV and film. Because experiencing that at its fullest, I was like, wow, this is something that I want to do, that I never thought that I wanted to do, but like experiencing it, it's something that feels very natural for me. I don't feel that scared feeling. It's just like excitement, and like I want to play. Maybe because there's not a lot of people in the audience, it's just like one camera person, and you know what I mean? And everyone else that's in the room that's supposed to be watching is behind the monitor, where usually you can't see from your point of view. So I feel like those kinds of settings are just, they're very freeing, because it feels like no one's watching. You can do whatever you want, even though back of your head, they are.
I mean, I guess like you mentioned that kind of that positive environment that kind of shone through in the film, I think.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned how I guess you were just feeling that joy, like singing.
Yeah, and in front of him, especially, because I'm a big fan.
I know you mentioned you kind of like a bit more new to kind of on-screen work.
Yeah.
With the work that you have done, do you think you maybe have like a preference between theatre and TV and film?
I think theater is always going to have a special place in my heart, because that's where I come from. And I don't think that I would ever say no to theater. I've been working on new works recently, and promoting a few new works as well, all Broadway related. So I'm definitely still dabbling in it. But my goal is to transfer into television and film and really focus on that and set some goals for myself. I feel like I've set a lot of goals in theater as the years progressed, and I feel like I've been able to meet all of my goals. I still have a few left in theater, but most of them are met. So, I mean, if it, I know this is not the easiest thing to hear, but like, I was very grateful to have the time off from the pandemic, because that was able to give me time to focus on TV and film.
Yeah.
Like, I was able to read books, and I was able to say yes to a bunch of auditions, because before, every time I had an audition for TV, I usually would just turn it down because I was busy rehearsing in theater. Theater, it requires a lot of your time. You're doing 8 shows a week. It's only 7 days in a week, you know, so you're doing 2 shows, you're doing 4 shows in 2-day periods, and then you'll have the night shows during the week, 1 day off, and usually it's like a Monday when everyone else is working. You have to work holidays, you know, and from my recent experience on television, you're off on the weekends and you're off on holidays, so it just feels like the schedule is a bit lighter, but the holiday thing for me is the most enticing, because I've missed a lot of Christmases and Thanksgivings, and I've had to keep them all pretty short or not really fully spend them with my family because of my work and having to perform for people who want to see a show on a holiday. So that would be my hope, to continue television so that I can get that time with my family.
With Tick Tick Boom, I mean, I might be wrong in this, but it almost seems like it's kind of a nice like blend of the two, with the kind of like build up to the filming, with being like the theater aspect. What was that like? It
was pretty trippy, I have to say, because basically we recorded our voices in a studio, so when we were filming, you would just hear yourself singing, and then you'd have to match what you're hearing as though you're doing it live. Usually you would sing full out as well as listening to the audio, but because it was COVID, they were like, no real singing, because we don't want these spit things flying around, and because it was still like heavy COVID, because we filmed almost 2 years ago now in October, so it was like still pretty, everybody was mandated to wear masks. In the hotel room, we couldn't grab our deliveries, so if we like delivered food to our room, someone had to like sanitize it to give it to us. I couldn't leave my hotel room at all. And I love running, and I was like, but what about running outside? They're like, we'll bring you a treadmill. Like, they were really adamant about keeping us indoors so that we could all be safe and healthy for one another while we were at work. So yeah, the experience was just like different, because I'm like, okay, so I have to like pretend that I'm singing. I have to lip sync to myself. Like, how weird, right? I mean, I know some artists do that when they do concerts and stuff. It's just something that I haven't really done. And so it was interesting, because I really wanted to make sure I was feeling what I was saying, because that's what makes theater magical. It's not about like showing off your riffs, or how much vibrato you can have in your voice, or how high or how low. It's about telling a story. And in addition to the technique that you need. So that was like my main focus. It's like, okay, even though I'm not like really singing this, and I really want to make sure that I'm still telling the story and having a good time doing it.
Yeah, I guess that must be kind of difficult, like to kind of show that like passion when you're not actually singing. Like, you just gotta pretend.
Yeah, because it's like when you sing, that's why music theater exists. It's because you're talking and talking, and it's like words aren't enough anymore. I have to sing, or words aren't enough anymore. I have to dance. You know, and that's what makes music theater beautiful. It's basically going in our minds. You know, like there are plenty of times where we're having conversations in real life and we get frustrated because what we're saying is not working. And like, you know, any theater fan would be like, oh, I wish I could just sing this to this person, you know, so they could hear the violin and my voice and feel, because music sets off emotion. And so it just basically encourages and heightens the reality of the situation, because it's still reality. It's just in a pretend setting. So yeah, I was like, especially as a singer, like all you want to do is go like, like you want to just let it out. And then you're like, you can't let it out. And you're like, oh, okay. Do
you have a kind of like technique for, you know, learning your songs? Because I particularly the one you sing in Tick Tick Boom.
Yeah.
I mean, at least to me, some of the lyrics feel like really like difficult to say fast. It's almost like you're rapping or something.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I was playing. The role is based on a futuristic robot. That is his agent, and or his, you know, assistant, just basically like, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do this. So and the pattern, the quickness of the song is to give it a sense of urgency. Like this is important, this is going to happen, and also to mirror how it is in any of those shows you've seen, like Devil Wears Prada, when like Miranda's walking and she's just talking and all these people are like following her and writing stuff down in a notepad. It's like mirroring that reality, how like the fashion world and certain just parts of entertainment in the industry is just like very fast paced, and you got to keep up, or else you're going to get left behind and someone's going to take your job. So yeah, but again, I've been working on the show for so long that I think I would have to go back to like the 5 years, you know, and say like learning the song, it was all about learning how to like where I could breathe. So it's like, okay, so if this is like a certain phrase is this long, I was like, well, if I take a really big breath here and I finish the phrase, I could take a sneak breath here and then do the next sentence. And so basically I would just mark little tiny like marks, and then those marks will tell me breathe, breathe, breathe. And then once you practice it a certain amount of times, you don't have to look at it anymore, because your mind just memorizes, okay, this is where I breathe, this is where I breathe. So as far as that's concerned, I was able to use that technique of learning where to breathe in order to get through it. And then just like consonants exercises, there's really good one where you take the top of a cork from like, I guess like a wine bottle or whatnot, and you just put it halfway in your mouth and you push your tongue against it and you try to speak sentences or sing or not really sing a song, because you need your jaw open. So just like basic words and stuff. And you can get a little spitty at times. It can, you know, you'll have a napkin with you, but because the tongue is such a strong muscle, when you're having it limited to move all the way forward and it's just being pushed, it's actually warming it up, so that when you do take it out of your mouth, your consonants are crisp and your tongue is activated and warm and ready to go. Kind of like a swimmer, like what their warm up would be, or a football footballers warm up would be. It's like the same thing with the cork. It's like that gets me ready to like talk fast and articulate everything.
So you're also in Dexter, New Blood.
Yeah.
And I saw on Instagram you said you were like you were a long time fan. So what was that like? I guess just joining a show.
It was surreal. It was surreal. I just couldn't, like, you know, when something happens to you and you're just so excited, you ask yourself like, maybe this isn't real. Like maybe they're going to be like, psych.
Yeah.
You know, like you think about the worst scenario, but then like it happened and it wasn't a joke. And meeting everyone, it was just another great experience. I've been very lucky. Michael C. Hall was so warm and kind and patient, but also just like turned it on when it was time, but he can also turn it off. Just a very zen energy I felt from him. And I don't know if it felt real to me. I don't know, because like, he could easily be like, oh, I'm not a zen person, but I felt that from him, and it really helped me to feel zen. Because of his energy, I was able to let go of the stardom, because I'm a big fan of Michael C. Hall.
Come on, let's have a party, huh? Come on, you guys. What's with him?
He gets like this every couple months. Walks in here like he owns the place.
He also is a Broadway guy, so it's like, to me, he's very, very talented, and I admire him and his work. So, but because he was so humble and kind and inviting, it really just allowed me to not feel intimidated, to not feel like, oh my God, I don't belong here. This is Michael C. Hall. I'm nobody. You know, I was able to be like, all right, let go of all of that, and let's just focus on this story, and let's just, again, pretend and have fun, right? So when I allowed myself to do that, it just was a really great time. And, you know, Maruko Siega directed me in most of the episodes that I was in, and he was a pleasure to work with. He's very efficient, which I admire. I'm also an efficient person. And he got everything done on time, always. Yeah, and I just really enjoyed it, working with him. I actually recently worked with him again on a new series that should be coming out soon called Bad Monkey. Bill Lawrence, the creator of Ted Lasso.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he basically adapted the novel of Bad Monkey and turned it into a TV series, and it's starring Vince Vaughn and Natalie Martinez. And so that's going to be on Apple TV. That'll be coming out. I just finished filming that this past spring into summer. Yeah, I was there for, I think, we filmed like 5 or 6 months in Miami. And
that sounds
yeah,
fun.
it was really fun. And yeah, so again, my experience with Marcos was just a lovely time, efficient. He knows what he wants, and he also knows how to talk to actors and get what he needs from them. And so, yeah, I've been really lucky. I know that there are stories out there of bad experiences. I not knock on wood. I don't.
Yeah.
I hope that I stay on my lucky track of not experiencing anything bad.
That's fair enough. So I know you mentioned like you were a little intimidated by like the kind of stardom of Michael C. Hall because you were a huge fan.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that's kind of happened before and will happen again maybe. But do you have any kind of techniques to get over that?
Well,
or get through it?
The first thing I do is I go and approach them and say hello and just talk to them. luckily, like I said, these 2 big stars and Vince Vaughn, 3 big stars, they're so humble and chill that they gave me the comfortability to do my job without worrying or feeling intimidated. But if I did meet an actor who I admired, but I felt like they were kind of standoffish or just not really inviting, I would just need to let that go and just focus on the material. I would have to work harder on just focusing and not talking to others and mingling. That's what I would do. The same way I do for like auditions in theater. I don't sit in the waiting room. I walk around because I need to be in my own world so that I can deliver my best work for the creative team. And so that's basically what I would do if I felt like, oh, wow, this person's really famous and they're not very nice. I would just completely just put those horse blinders on and just focus on the character, focus on the world that we're creating, and just pretend. And I also tell myself, like, you're here too. So that means that you are worthy, you know? I mean, I don't know how easy it is for everyone else, but for me, I naturally think of all the bad possibilities before I allow myself to dwell on the good. And that necessarily isn't the best way to be, but it is something that I work on, because it's not natural for me to just be like, yeah, everything's great. Oh my God, I'm so lucky. Like that doesn't happen in my mind. But I do have to tell myself, hey, you're here because you worked hard and they saw something in you that was good enough to be here. And so remember that, own it, and have a good time. And when I give myself those pep talks, it always does work.
That's good.
But I know self-sabotage is real, and I know that a lot of people do it. And it's all about focus. If you let yourself not focus one bit, you could totally self-sabotage the situation. So that's why I mentioned the whole just focusing on the scene, the character. Yeah.
That's good that you've got like techniques to also kind of manage your mental health in the industry as well.
Yeah, that's important. I mean, mental health, that's another thing that COVID taught me. Not COVID, but like being off of work.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't had a vacation. I haven't spent time with my family because I've been slaving myself to work. That's all I did. I was in LA right before the pandemic like bursted, and Oprah had like this seminar in a big arena. I forget which one, but basically we like filled out this booklet, and you had to say from 1 to 7, what's your personal life like? What's your work life like? What's this? And the seminar was all about learning how to balance your life and learning that money isn't everything and work isn't everything. And in order to find true happiness for yourself, you have to have a balance. So you have to have like create a hobby for yourself, do things outside of work that make you happy, maintain friendships, text people, call them whenever you're free, in addition to doing what I love for work. But when I filled out that booklet, I was not balanced. Like everything that they asked for work was all on the highest numbers, and everything they asked about my personal life was like 2, 3, maybe 1. Yeah, and I never really thought of it until I saw that book. And I was like, and I saw the numbers and I was like, whoa, this is, now I see. And then the pandemic hit and I was able to really sit with it and be like, okay, so I need to make sure that I continue my friendships. I have to make sure that I'm having outside activities that don't have to do with work, that just feed my happiness. Whether it be fitness or learning how to sew something, or just something for me that I can find happiness in. Because when work went away, I mean, it wasn't too long that it went away for me, because I filmed Tick Tick Boom, I filmed Dexter, and I just filmed Bad Monkey. So in these 2 years of pandemic, it has been work, but my mind was not consumed by it. Like, whenever I had days off, I made sure that I had personal time and planned activities that were just for personal fun and pleasure.
Yeah, that's good. Like having that balance, I guess.
Yeah.
So obviously, with Dexter, and you were a long time fan. Are there any other like series or kind of projects or franchises that you've been a fan of that you would love to join in the future?
Let's see. Have you seen Euphoria? It's so good. Oh man, I would love to be part of Euphoria. Although I think the series might be done. Who knows? But I would love to be a part of that. But I would also love to be a part of Ted Lasso. But I also found out that might be the season 3 might be the end. I would have loved to be in Only Murders in the Building. That season was amazing, and I think they are having a season 2. I would love to be a superhero. Like, I want to like have purple hair and do flips and cartwheels and like all this crazy like combat fighting, and have powers, like maybe like lasers in my eyes, like
Yeah.
or like crazy strength, or even flying. Yeah, I love Marvel, but I also love DC. It's I don't have like, because I love Batman, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, come on, isn't Batman like so cool? I'm just like, I know it's not everyone's thing. He's my favorite superhero.
Yeah. No, he's a solid choice. Solid choice.
He's just the most realistic, I guess. I guess that's probably why. Here I'm wanting laser eyes. And I'm like, but Batman's my favorite because he's practical.
I guess you could do Marvel and DC. Just gotta do them both.
I would love that.